afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to welcome you to this webinar and thank you for being here with us today. The PPMA is showcasing some of the amazing winners from the 2024 PPMA Awards webinar showcase, which is what you're here today. And it promotes the fantastic work of HROD professionals and all the work that we and you do. So we're looking today for the Best Talent Programme, which was awarded to the wonderful British Transport Police, and they were well-deserved winners indeed. And I'm really excited to hear from Carol a little bit later with regards to kind of what that looked like and how amazing their talent programme is to be the crowned winner for 2024. So I'm Rachel Morris and I'm a senior consultant at Penna. At Penna, we're particularly interested in talent programmes because it's the essence of what we're here to do as a business. We're here to support incredibly talented people really realise their potential in a potential new opportunity. And we're here to support the organisations that do it really, really well. So really excited to be here today. As a premium sponsor for the PPMA, really happy to be presenting and invited to present today's webinar, which will be led by Carol Thatcher, who is the talent manager for the British Transport Police. Hi, Carol.
Hiya, lovely to be here.
Thank you so much for your time today. Really excited to hear more. So just before I hand over to you, Carol, just some housekeeping for everybody on the call. If you feel brave enough, please do turn your cameras on. It's lovely to see some faces and getting that engagement with both myself and Carol. So it'd be lovely to do that if you feel brave enough. Please have your mute on if you're not speaking, and use the raise hand button if you'd like to speak or ask a question. We are going to do some Q&A towards the end. So if you do have anything, please pop it in the chat and then we'll come back to it towards the end. But if there's something that you just can't wait for, please do pop your hand up and we'll do our best to facilitate a quick question to Carol, but longer questions at the end, please. And like I say, you know, that chat function's there for you, so get the most out of it, absolutely. So to tee up this presentation for Carol, the judges said that your entry demonstrated a clear purpose and vision for change, and that the British Transport Police have cultivated a programme that clearly identifies talent at all levels of the organisation and seeks to eliminate bias. Your programme clearly demonstrated it has resulted in tangible outputs for the organisation, and we look forward to hearing a little bit more about that. And EDI was evident throughout the programme with real strong evidence of impact. So without further ado, I will stop speaking and hand the microphone over to Carol. Off you go, Carol. I think you're going to be sharing your screen, which hopefully won't take too long to do. Very quick.
Has it popped up?
We can see it.
Oh, brilliant. That's good news. Thank you. So thank you for that lovely introduction, Rachel. I really appreciate that. And thank you everyone else that's taken the time out, especially Monday when you come back and you realise, oh, I didn't do that on Friday and stuff like that. So I really appreciate you prioritising attending today's session. So everyone can see my slides okay? Yeah, I'm getting a few nods. Great. Yeah. It says low network bandwidth, so I hope everything's all right. If anything goes wrong, please just either put something in the chat or just speak up so that I know. So I joined British Transport Police close to 3 years ago now, having worked in local government for 21 years. So I kind of grew up in Worcestershire County Council. We didn't have, when I joined here, I quickly realised we didn't have a talent development framework. So I took the opportunity for the first 3 months of joining here to meet with everybody, you know, as many people as I could at all different levels, staff and police officers. And we're a national police force, so that's Scotland, England, and Wales, to try and find out what they needed from their talent team, basically, you know, what type of framework would work. And we don't always get that opportunity, do we? We normally, in local government, we're told we're bringing this change in or doing that. So I was quite lucky that not having a talent framework, I could go out and consult, if you like. So after doing that, after those 3 months, I came up with about 4 distinct themes. One was to reduce nepotism. So people wanted a fair process that was transparent, and that's in relation to career development, instead of if your face fits or, well, you've been here long enough. And I recognised that when I was in local government as well, you know, it'd be like, oh, I didn't see that job advertised, or, you know, how come they got through, you know, that sort of thing, that cynicism that sometimes creeps in. Also to improve the offering for police staff. So we do promotion boards annually for police officers, but there wasn't really much for police staff. And when I think about my time in local government, we did a lot for in that talent space for leaders, but not so much non-leaders, people who weren't managing teams. So that kind of resonated with me as well, especially with regards to our social workers. And then I was asked to consider some of what people were calling hidden talent. And when I unpicked that a little bit more, that was clearly our neurodiverse workforce and our underrepresented groups. Really felt that the things that we use to assess people, or the opportunities that we gave people, were very neurotypical, if you like, and therefore not seeing the development or the level playing fields, if you like, for some of our underrepresented groups. And then the other biggie was no succession planning. So that left the organisation, the force, in a fragile position, really, because we had got some critical roles and we didn't have successors, and we had no way of identifying that. So what that meant was it created a knee-jerk reaction, if you like. The wrong leader is put into place, and we've seen that, haven't they? Oh no, we've got nobody to cover, somebody's gone on long-term sick or whatever, left, nobody planned for it, and they've put somebody in. Even if it's temporarily, the impact the wrong leader can have in a role, especially the more strategic they are, well, I bet you all can think about somebody who impacted on you negatively. So it really resonated with me that we needed something in place, that we weren't knee-jerk reacting with regards to putting leaders in positions. So those were kind of like the four themes, if you like, that I went away with. One of our force priorities is to build a modern and inclusive work force. So that's kind of the aim of me and my team, if you like, that we achieve this outcome, the strategic outcome for the force. So equipped with the feedback I had, and it was quite a lot actually when I really unpicked it all. I had to then think of how we were going to identify talent within BTP. And you look on the internet about talent management, it can be a bit of a lonely place sometimes, because people come at it from different perspectives, and it's all based on the resources you have and that expectation. So I really wanted to be careful. It was my first chance to kind of help the force come on board, if you like, but also believe in the credibility of the framework that we were considering building. So we looked at performance and potential. Sorry, let me just turn my printer off. Sorry about that. Sorry. So we had to look at the two aspects, and you're looking at it probably thinking, yeah, well, that's how you do it. It is performance and potential. But what I needed to make sure of is that we weren't creating that nepotism through the potential bit being separate, because what was clear to me was they used a 9-box grid before, and people, their PDR ratings, and we called them staff appraisals when I was in local government, they were like either not meeting their targets, if you like, but then their potential, the 9-box grid, they were in the top quadrant. We were like, oh, how's that working then? That person has got a lot of potential, but you've got no evidence for that. And that was some of the feedback. People were getting into positions, being promoted, and the rest of the workforce couldn't fathom how that person got it. And we all have some reason why we get upset about not getting the job that we wanted to get, but it was quite rife throughout the whole force that people felt that potential bit wasn't being measured right. So I really had to think about how we can do this and make it simple, so they didn't have to think too hard. For corporate people in the corporate world, this sort of stuff is natural to us, but for police officers, and if I remember my old role with social workers, this was all like airy fairy land. It was just tell me what I need to do and how I need to do it. So I needed to make it simple as well. So what I focused was on measuring the performance through the staff appraisals, our PDR, so our performance management system, and then the potential that we would measure that accompanied with the PDR. So we had the evidential, but then also the opportunity through the talent pools to identify that readiness, if you like. So we built our inclusive talent framework, and as you can see, we've got 5 platforms, 2 platforms for one, but we built this to make sure it was really inclusive, so I didn't lose that hidden talent. and that I had a place for everybody in the force, wherever they are, if they were performing or even underperforming, which sometimes we become left out in a talent framework. So the platform we aim for everyone to be at, so where everyone should start, is that platform 3 we've got here, which is what we call our performing talent. And that platform is for people doing their job, doing the role exactly as it's expected. And in talent world, that's around about 55% of your organisation. That's your steady Edwinas and Eddies, if you like, that are keeping the engine going, and they're doing the job exactly the way we want them to do it. So what we do in the talent pool there is we keep them employable with CPD stuff, but also we ask them to become mentors or coaches, for example, so that they're giving back and they're being role models and they feel that they're being recognised for doing their job and doing it really well. Then we had to start factoring in, so when do we start seeing those ones that may be ready for that next level? So we've got platform 2, and that's for our aspiring talent, and that's for somebody that you've seen them, haven't you? You're not 100% sure they're ready yet, but you are seeing a spark there. They're starting to think a bit more strategically. They're taking on a few extra projects, or they're putting another layer that we haven't considered, if you like. So you don't know if they're ready yet, but you can certainly see the potential. And what we do in that talent pool is we stretch them, but we don't take them out of their comfort zone, because we don't unlock their confidence, you know, at this stage. But we get them opportunities for collaborating with people, going on leadership programs, stuff like that, that kind of stretches them a little bit, but gives them the opportunity to kind of showcase their talents a little bit more by working on a project and having a bit more autonomy on there, so we can really see the potential and readiness. And you can see here we've got platform 1, and we've got 2 entries for platform 1. So platform 1s, those are our workforce that are clearly and evidentially working at that next level. So you'll see that they're achieving their objectives, just like the platform 3. And like platform 2, they're instead of just achieving more than, a little bit more than, going on and above, these people are consistently demonstrating that they're able to cover their line manager. They're able to work with maybe stakeholders or on more strategic projects and stuff like that. So in their PDRs, if you like, we're seeing that evidence that they've gone on and above, but strong. They're delivering as well at that next level. We've got 2 entries because we've got a fast track program, but we've also seen them in local government as well, where platform 1 flow, that's somebody eventually able to work at that next level because they've taken on those projects and they've delivered or they've covered. But platform 1 accelerate, that's for those people that are working minimum at least 2 ranks or 2 grades above. And we know them because we don't keep them for very long, do we? They're very driven, they're very ambitious. Sometimes we only focus on these in talent programs and we miss out on the rest of the organisation, because in reality, in the talent world, this is only 3% of your force, of your organisation that can work that fast. And it's about getting all you can from them, because they're self-driven, they self-learn, they find their mentors, they get on, they get their self out in networks and connect with people. So what you want now is to get all the talents from them. So we give them those real strategic projects, big teams to matrix manage, if you like, to really deliver those priorities, if you like. And in these platforms, it's working with our funders and stakeholders because they really can represent that dynamic approach, if you like. So that's why we've got 2 platform 1s for our talent pools. But of course, it doesn't always work like that, you know, that people are performing or overperforming. We have some that aren't, and I wanted it to be inclusive, as I've said. So we've also got platform 4, and that's for those people that are developing in their role. And it could be because you've had a restructure and you've given them a few extra responsibilities. So they're not achieving all their objectives, but there's most likely mitigating circumstances. So you don't want to be unfair and saying you're not performing, but at the same time, you don't want to be saying you're doing what we want you to be doing. I think that's really important with this talent framework. So platform 4, that enables us to let the person know that they're nearly there, but they're still needing a bit of support. So what we do in this platform, we give people mentors, and we get them somebody to buddy up with, if you like, to help them to get to that next place. Now, in reality, you either go up or you go down from this platform. and all, how we approach this is really important in that respective. Sometimes we find relationships here. We also might have people just come back from family leave. Then we have got platform 5, and that is for our underperformance. They are not. This is about skill or will. And no matter what we're doing, they take up all our time, don't they, in trying to get them to that platform 3. So before we go to the formal route, the formal performance management route, where we get HR heavily involved, this is where we provide performance coaching. So we don't distract them with lots of other stuff, because the main thing is get them to be performing, but we support them with coaching and specific performance coaching. So the coach will work with the line manager and the individual here to get that individual up to scratch, and then obviously the outcome of that over a 6-month period will be if it goes formal or not. In that respect, but at least we're giving people that last opportunity, if you like. I mean, we spend a lot of time getting people in this space, recruiting people, so we do all we can here really to get them performing. And then we got the U platform, and that's just for data for the organisation. If somebody's seconded, suspended, long-term sick, that sort of stuff, line managers have a rating for that too. Just like every public sector, we haven't got a lot of money, so we can't purchase outside systems that much. So we use Microsoft 365, mainly because everything's free. Once you pay that license, everything's free. So we use SharePoint as the bedrock for our PDR, so you can set your objectives, do your ratings, and see your feedback with SharePoint. And we use Forms for our engagement bit there with, and Teams obviously for talent pools, you know, putting files and private groups on there. Power BI, which is part of the 365, we use that for our dashboard for the data, who's had PDR ratings, the completion rates per division, how we're doing, what the PDR ratings are, what's the force looking like performance wise, and each line manager has access to this for their line of command, so they can see. And we have a mid-year rating, we have an end-year rating, and then each year, each June, an annual talent board. We start with our chief executive group, and we give them the force data, you know, how people are doing, what people are asking for, and we compare it for the talent curve, but also from last year. And then we go out to senior leadership teams, and we have localized talent boards, and we give them the data for their area, and we tell them what their people are asking for. And we work with them sometimes at some of the development opportunities we give people in the pools, because they have got things they want to delegate, but they also might have things they want people to lead on. Succession plan is through here, so the 1s and 2s get considered, and promotion boards and stuff like that will come from their talent rating. We're really chuffed that Penna thought with our talent program, because that was real great validation for my team externally, because that we worked really hard to find a system that worked and was inclusive. And this is some of the feedback that we've had from an inspector and from some of our police staff. So, you know, it really has been great for us to know that something is working for the force. What we're focused on now is improving it and embedding it a little bit more. But I'm really happy to pass back to Rachel, you know, to take any questions that anyone has on that. I'm sure I probably missed bits out that you probably wanted to know a bit more on.
Thank you so much, Carol. That was incredible and swiftly through a lot of work, I think, in terms of a presentation. So love the style of the presentation. Thank you so much. Has anybody got any questions that they'd like to ask? Anything that's burning around the how? I haven't got any in the chat yet for you, Carol, but I've got a couple to kind of start us off, I suppose. So from me with the things. How does the amazing stuff that you're doing there, and thank you so much for sharing, how does all of that amazing stuff really kind of feature into outcomes around recruitment? So, you know, obviously we've all been in a situation, I think, where we've had, you know, a manager that wants to just do that nepotism piece organisationally, and how do you kind of manage that culture around the recruitment process being transparent, but also playing into the talent programme that you've developed here? How does that work?
So we do a lot of awareness training, because it is a change program really for them, and that was the one thing that I probably didn't focus too much on at the beginning is helping them understand it's a totally new system that they've got, and it isn't about a tap on the shoulder now. So for people, we do training for our workforce to get the best out of your PDR, and then we do training for the line managers and saying, if you're going to select people to say they're ready, the evidence needs to be there. So the objectives that they've achieved if they've done more than that, then the evidence has to be put in there. If you think they've done less than that, then you need to give the evidence. So it's very much based on the performance management aspect of it, like the staff appraisal, sorry. And then what happens is they get into the talent pools where they can actually then express themselves. So depending on what rating you are, you get that exposure to shadowing, secondments, opportunities, any development that you might need. But we use the data to inform ourselves, like, so how many can be promoted, if you like, how many successors have we got ready. It's obviously only just started, so we've designed a black talent development program because we saw that some of our black talent were not being rated. There was a disparity amongst the rest of our workforce, so that data helped us go, what's going on here? You know, our women which are underrepresented, our ethnic minorities that are underrepresented, were still being rated. There was no disparities between that and our white communities, but our black talent wasn't. So we were able to put in straight away a black talent development program as part of our positive action for that year to kind of level the playing field. So it kind of feeds us in all of those areas. If you think of those analytics, you know, areas that might have critical roles as well, where if we haven't got a successor and we haven't got those ratings, we need to get people ready quite soon.
Yeah, really helpful. Thank you for that. And I suppose development for managers, kind of what does that sit within your remit, or is that in kind of the L&D remit? And what does that look like in terms of culturally, you know, the changing the voice around what talent management really is? Like, what work have you had to do in that space?
So talent management, we're really clear we stay in our swim lane. It's about career development, but we can't do that without our L&D team and our leadership academy. So we kind of work together, if you like, collaboratively to, you know, if somebody comes into the talent pool and their aspiration is to be a manager, so they're not one yet, you know, we signpost them to leadership academy aspiring management training. If you've got somebody already a manager and just wants to develop in certain areas, that's where we'll get SMEs from the business to do masterclasses. You know, let's say you wanted to know more about project management before you went into a role like that, or you took on a qualification, you'd attend a masterclass that's delivered by our own. You know, we also do initiatives where you can work for 1 day a week for 6 months in a team, just to see, you know, if a job went up there, if it would be something you're interested in. So we filter the talent development in there. It's not a hierarchical framework, so you can have an admin person reach in one and you can have a senior manager. In all fairness, the more senior you are, the harder it is to get a 2 or a 1, because your strategicness is so big, the expectations of you are higher. But yeah, we work in tandem with our L&D, and we make sure people, if this is about career development, that is about competence in role and developing skills for the future.
Yeah, great, thank you. Can't see any hands up. I just wanted to ask one question about trade unions and how that worked, just briefly, because then I've got one in the chat. But have you managed that relationship?
Yeah, so we socialized it. We piloted it for 6 months first. And then with the feedback that we got and how things were going, we socialized it with all of our trade unions to talk them through what we're trying to achieve with it. And they were really supportive of it. So yeah, so we made sure we socialized before we actually launched it. So before anybody comes up with a problem, we've already tested it out, if you like, first of all. And we had stuff that we had to tweak before we actually launched it in for 2023.
Yeah, great. So always that early engagement was brilliant.
Oh, absolutely.
I've got a question from...
I didn't know anything about policing.
Quick learning curve. So I've got a question from Diane in the chat, which I'll ask you, and then I'll come to Kate, and then we'll probably, depending on where we're at, that might be the end of the questions, but I'm sure you're willing to, you know, share your email address and people can ask you questions. So Diane in the chat asks, have you had to address any... Sorry, Diane, I'm not doing your question very good. Have you had to address challenges with managers that are not providing accurate ratings and completing PDRs for their staff, and how did you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the biggest problems, but what I was able to do was show we didn't know this data before. we didn't know that we were sending line managers off with inflated egos, and then they were going to promotion boards and then being told you're not delivering, in no way, and they're going out disgruntled. So we did have that, but I needed to find out where we were at first, and then what we had to introduce the first year then was proactive performance management training, so that managers could understand about having meaningful conversations, and it's ongoing. If I'm honest, Dan, we've improved the rating. So yes, everyone was higher rating. We've improved the rating so they're a bit more balanced by, I think it was about 10 or 20% the first year, and it's already improving again. But it did start off too high. But we're really lucky. Our chief executive in your world, it's a chief constable for us, she wants to see that ratings, and we measure against deliverables. So if it's not concurrent, we're like, what's going on here? You're saying you're having a high performing team, but you're not hitting all the performance indicators, and we deep dive, but we've got the data to do it. And I reckon by next year, end of next year's performance year, we'll get more balanced with the ratings.
Yeah, great question, Diane. Thank you.
Yeah.
Kate, a question from you.
Thanks. That's really interesting. I recognise a lot of what you were saying around what my last role was head of HR at London Fire Brigade, and we had a lot of similar issues around the promotion boards and the culture of the tap on the shoulder and things. But I'm now at Bexley Council, and you kind of already answered some of my questions, which are around how you ensure consistency without it becoming an onerous process that takes a lot of manager time. And so I've seen this happen. You know, we had a similar sort of approach in the civil service, and it just became so onerous and demotivating for people. And the key with all of this is how you make it motivating. And it's so impressive that you've got such good feedback from people feeling like it's for the first time a motivating process. So I suppose, what would be the main thing you've done that you think has helped you to achieve that? And my other question was around what the impact has been on the business, because a lot of what you've spoken about is around fairness, which is obviously a really important thing for your organisation specifically. But have you also seen an improvement in performance overall across the organisation? You know, improvement in outcomes for the organisation, or how have you kind of made the case to the organisation that they need to take it seriously?
Because we weren't measuring this before, it was really hard to measure, has it improved performance? However, what it was showing is that people were being overrated. And so even if they weren't literally given a rating, people were being told they were achieving more than they should have. So it really highlighted that performance management issue. So we were able to direct some of our leadership training, like Rachel talked about, in we need to get back to basics here. Some of these managers are struggling with just meaningful conversations. So it's been able to help us direct some of that decisions, what we spend on for that year. The Black Talent Programme was one of the ones that we were able to say, look, we need to focus on that. The motivation we also stuck in there, which comes into force when we come to the end of the year this year, is pre-moderation to help with that consistency as well. So instead of doing the moderation beforehand, that is too much work. It's like, have a conversation with your line manager. So Kate, you're my line manager, I'm giving so and so and so these ratings, and you'd be like, what, really? Or yeah, I totally agree with you. So we've got those conversations already happening, so we're building that culture, if you like. But it is, whilst we've had massive improvements with regard to return rates, we're 98% completion rates, and we're going the right way with the talent curve. It's still a slow process in people understanding you have to talk to people, and you have to be kind by giving them proper feedback. And I think public sector struggles with that because people work so hard for limited resources, and there's other ways to recognize that that real great work through recognition, that sort of stuff. But talent programs are about who's ready for that next stage. So helping people understand the difference was another motivator, because you get into the talent pool by owning your own PDR. So instead of being told what your rating is, you start telling your manager, this is where I see myself, and this is where I want to be, and how can I get there? And they're better conversations now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Carol. We could speak all day about this. I think you're doing fantastic work and some great stuff. And I think that the reliance on the data being king around actually really having some of those tough conversations. And I'm excited to hear where this goes into year 2. And I think some of those impacts can probably be a little bit more measured. We've gone over time, but that's I think it's okay. I don't think we'll get told off for that. But it's been lovely to hear from you, Carol, and all the amazing work you're doing at the British Transport Police. I'm sure local government massively miss you, but it sounds like you're doing great stuff over there.
Thank you, Rachel.
And thank you to everybody for attending today. Appreciate the extra time you've given. If you have any further questions, Carol, I'm sure that you'll be available through LinkedIn and email if anybody wants to have a chat with you.
Yeah, really love that, because it's great to have kindred spirits. So absolutely no problem.
Brilliant. Well, have a wonderful rest of day, everybody, and rest of week. The call will end very shortly, so you don't even need to press the leave button. It'll do it all for you. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Thanks, Carol.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rachel.
Bye.